completely open hand. It is so hard. One of the most important things in archery is to do things consistently. It doesn't matter really what you do, as long as you can repeat it every time, then you'll probably hit the middle. The problem comes in when you are doing things differently. The 4 things we're going to talk about today is very hard to repeat if you do it this way. So we're going to identify 4 of these common mistakes that people do, and it might be you, and how to fix them. Let's look at the first common mistake that people do, and that's to do with the grip, the open hand. If you can do it consistently, then by all means do it, but it is a challenge, and here's why. All right, so here we have a hanging bow from a branch tied to the limb pocket on a piece of string, and I'm going to try and demonstrate why it's not a good idea to have your hand open like this. Now, if I shoot and I don't grab the bow after the release, the bow will drop to the ground, and I will try and demonstrate how hard it is not to do that. It's the inclination to grab it is very strong. So let's do the test and see what happens. All right, so I've got my hand completely open, and it's so hard not to grab that bow. Okay, final test. Now I'm really going to put all my effort in not to grab the bow. Try number 2. Completely open hand. It is so hard. So like you'll also judge from the video, it was very hard for me to convince myself that the bow is alright, even though it's hanging off a string. There's a natural reaction to grabbing it because you're scared it's going to fall. Even though you try and convince yourself that it is fine, it's hanging from a branch, it's not going to fall to the ground, you physically just can't help the urge. So you would understand, if I do it here with a string, there's no way I'm going to not do it in a situation where the bow is not tied onto a string hanging safely off the ground. Now, and if I don't grab it, then it will fall to the floor, shooting in a normal situation. When you grab it, like you'll be forced to, you're going to cause inconsistencies. Now, there's no way you're going to grab at the same time and the same way every time. What's the solution to this? Well, I like to hold some fingers on the bow in front of the riser and just relax them, but you know there's no change almost after you've shot the arrow. It's going to be a natural reaction where not much change after you've shot. I don't like to shoot with a sling, and I don't think on the modern bows today, honestly, you don't need it. It's not like the old days where the bow jumps 6 feet in front of you if you don't hold on to it. They had a lot more recoil as the limbs pop forward. These days, especially on the hunting bows, they are more parallel, so they jump up and they jump down, and this is not a forward motion, it's rather an up and down motion. That movement of the top cam going up, or the limb, and the bottom limb going down, and also the cam going down, it's a cancellation effect, and that's why these bows feel so good in your hand. So what's the solution to this? I like to hold a few fingers, if it's 1, 2, or 3, in front of the riser, and I just like to hold it lightly on there, knowing that when I release, the bow is safe, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, this video is not to show you what you're doing wrong, but to also give you a solution to the problem. Now, let's look at how to hold a grip properly while we're at it. If you just lift your hand up and you're pointing at something, you know, you'll see naturally your knuckles will run 45 degrees down, your thumb will point at about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and then all you do is you close your index finger, and then you flick your wrist back. You put your hand in the bow, just slide it in from the side, and make sure the pressure is on the meaty part of the thumb. What I also like to check, if I can put 3 fingers on this side of the bow and then hold it with this too. So these 3 fingers is going to sit on this side of the riser, and then I'm going to lightly hold it with the index finger and my thumb, like that. Now, that might look simple, but sometimes it is harder to actually master yourself. But if you practice and you have the basics of your knuckles must run at 45 degrees, your thumb pointing at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, the pressure must be on the meaty part of your thumb, and your wrist must be flicked back. Then, if you have those principles, you're probably going to nail it. Okay, so let's look at what should happen after you release the arrow, what the hand reaction should actually look like. You can also test this for yourself. Do a slow-mo of your hand like I did and see what's your reaction to the bow going off. That will tell you a lot about your grip. And some might argue that the arrow is already out of the bow, which is true, but the sheer anticipation of grabbing that bow and having to think about it will definitely influence your accuracy. And the other thing it does is also it will hit your hand. The arrow rest a lot of times will hit your hand. That creates a distraction because it's painful. And also the other thing is having your hand open like that, if you're trying to achieve a relaxed grip, that having to have your hand open, forced open, also creates tension. A closed hand, just relax. This is a natural position for our hands, not open like that. That is tension. You can actually feel it when you test it for yourself. The second mistake I see people often make is when they adjust their grip after they've drawn the bow. So in other words, when they do it at full draw. This will create torque problems, and also it's almost impossible to do it consistently. So to demonstrate the wrong way, it will look something like this. You will draw your bow, I often see this, and then you get to the back at the full draw, and then you adjust your hand. This will lead to a lot of inconsistencies. The correct way would be to set your bow hand, you draw your bow, and nothing changes. The third thing is face contact. Now, face contact is quite a big problem. It will create a lot of inconsistencies. You're going to affect the tuning of your bow, and even worse, you're going to move your peep around physically if you have too much tension on that string from your face, your cheek, and also your nose. Okay, so to demonstrate this, I'm going to draw this bow and see what happens with this peep if I press lightly with my thumb on that string. That is moving probably ½ inch by just pressing it lightly. Now you can imagine what that does to accuracy. Well, let's do another test. If you need further convincing, I'm going to shoot a teal knock first. I've got a target out there at 35 yards, and I'm going to shoot normally. And then the second arrow with the orange knock, I'll actually dig my nose into that string and see where it shoots. All right, so let's see where this shot goes. I'm digging hard into the string now. All right, let's look where the arrows went. This was my first shot, and by the way, I always shoot like this. When on 35 yards, I never ever leave that X. So I'm happy about that shot. This is the one I obviously didn't dig my nose into, and that is the one I dig my nose into. It actually went right. I thought it was going to go low, but see, the thing is, it's unpredictable. It's not even a a given where it's going to go. Now, the fourth mistake I see people make is they're absolutely static after the release. Now, what this means is it's either you are so built up with tension, you don't allow your body to expand after you've released the arrow, or you're anticipating the release, you know exactly when it's going to go off, or both. You're doing both at the same time. And I'm not a big fan of knowing exactly when the release is going to go off exactly. And besides that, being built up with tension while you're aiming is not a good idea. So what is a good follow through? Well, a good follow through is just allowing your body to do what it does naturally after you're pushing and you're pulling with this hand, and at the break of the shot, obviously this hand is going to go forward and this hand is going to go backwards. If I cut the string at full draw and you don't know it, what's going to happen? Your hand's going to move forward, your bow arm and your release hand is going to move backwards. Now, this might also mean that when you are a right-handed archer, and for the left-handed archers, just the opposite, but your hand will actually move to the left as you release, because your arm will eventually run out of leverage, and the natural reaction is it for it to go slightly left. There's nothing wrong with it. When you see that happens, the chest is opening, it opens like this. So this hand will go behind your head and this hand will go to the side of your body. That is the natural reaction to a good follow through. I actually have a video on this. I will link it right now. You can click on it. You can watch it if you want. You can watch it if you want more info on the follow through, and there I actually go more into depth on the follow through. Now I'm going to give you an example of a tensed body position or a anticipated release. So this is the correct way of shooting. Alright guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. We'll be back soon with some more archery related topics, and we hope that you enjoyed this one, and we appreciate you watching. See you soon.